Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from SimpleProgrammer.com. So I got a question here about how to start a business with a small amount of money or how to invest in real estate. So this question is from Peter and he says, "Hi John, how to invest in real estate with a small amount of money, how to start a business with a small amount of money. I'm a student and my goal is financial freedom. What should I do, please?" So I want to talk a little bit about how you should think about things depending on where you are in life, because that makes a huge difference, right? There's some logic and some wisdom to being frugal, okay, and perhaps even cheap, okay, but it doesn't make a lot of sense at certain times, right? So what I mean by that is depending on where you are in life and where you are financially, the kind of decisions that you make, the kind of choices that you make are going to be really important. So you've probably heard some of the financial, self-help type of gurus, some of the people I respect like Ramit Sethi, and I'm trying to think who else probably. I mean, there's a few of them out there. Gary Vaynerchuk, I think, has said something similar as like, don't worry about, Grant Cardone had something like this too. And it's basically, they've said, like, don't worry about spending the $2 at Starbucks every day. Don't like waste your time trying to save $3 a day or so, not getting the coffee. That's not the way. Instead, like, expand your future, like make more money. And I tend to agree with them, but I also tend to disagree with them. And I'll tell you why in a second here. So the primary thing here, the reason why I tend to disagree with them is that it depends on your situation in life, where you are financially, on how much that matters. So let me give you some examples, and I've talked about this a little bit before, in terms of buying a house and the utility value of money, which is something to really consider here. But this will help. I will get to the answer of how to start a business with a small amount of money or how to invest in real estate, but we've got to lay this background first. So think about it this way. Okay, let's say that you make, let's say $25,000 a year. I'm going to use US dollars here. So in the US, let's say you make $25,000. Not a huge amount of money in the US, probably a fairly low paid salary. Okay. In that case, let's say that let's say that you're spending $3 a day on coffee, right? So we could Starbucks this. We could say 3 times 365 days in a year, about $1,100 a year in coffee expenses, right? Let's say that it's $1,000 because you don't get the coffee every day, right? So you're basically using up, you're only making $25,000 and you're using up $1,000 of that money that you're making. That's a pretty decent percentage, right? And if you're doing a bunch of other things, if you're eating out, right, there's a lot of things that you could be doing that could be wasting money that could really add up. So let's say that you've got, the premium cable service and you're paying $100 a month for that, and unlimited data on your cell phone, and a bunch of all these little expenses. Okay, those things could add up, and you might be blowing like $5,000 a year, right? Now, out of $25,000, if you're blowing $5,000, right, that's a fifth of your income. Okay, that's 20% of your income is being blown, and that $5,000 could be very useful to you to be able to save or to invest. Imagine if you could invest that $5,000. So in that case, right, being really, really frugal with your money would make a lot of sense. It would make sense to not have that Starbucks, right? It makes sense to not spend money. It makes sense to be very, very, very frugal. But on the other hand, let's say that you're making $200,000 a year, okay? Let's say that was your income. Okay, now it doesn't make sense to try and save $1,000. It doesn't make sense to try and clip coupons, right? Go to Starbucks, get your latte every morning. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter if you spend $5 a day on the latte. In the long run, that's not much of an impact, because let's say that you figure out how much money you can save, right? And this all comes to, right, because if you're going to start a business, if you're going to invest in real estate, if you're going to do kind of investments like that, by the way, if you want to check out my real estate playlist, you can check that out here where I talk about all the real estate investment advice. But if you're going to do that, right, you've got to look at how much you're going to save or be able to invest. So in the case of the person making $25,000 a year, they're probably, they need that to live, right? I mean, you talk about rent and expenses, right? Maybe their expenses are $1,500 a month, and you're probably not going to pay much taxes if you're making that little amount of money. But you might be able to save like $5,000 a year, right? If even that much. And so anything that you add and any lattes you buy every day, that cuts into that, that hurts that. Okay, and so that's money that you can invest. Whereas you took the person that's making $200,000 a year, okay, they're sitting pretty nice, right? So maybe after taxes and everything, maybe they can save like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. So being able to save an extra couple thousand more doesn't matter. It's better to have the lifestyle upgrade, to have the conveniences in life that are probably going to make it easier for you to go forward and make more money and do what you're going to do. So that, I think, is a really important foundation to lay, is to realize that at different stages in life, okay, depending on how much money you make, that utility value of money is going to change. And so that's going to depend on that's going to really change how you approach this, right? How you approach starting a business, investing in real estate and whatnot. Okay, so now let's get into the actual question here of if you don't have a lot of money, okay, with a small amount, how could you invest in real estate? How could you invest in a business? Okay, when you have a lot of money, right, the answer is going to be different. So let's look at how you would do it if you don't have a lot. If you don't have a lot, okay, the very first thing that you're going to do is you're going to maximize the amount that you have. That's the most critical step. So you need to cut expenses as much as possible. Cut those lattes out. I don't care if Ramit Sethi tells you it's okay to have a latte. No, I'm sorry. If you're not making a lot of money, if you don't have a lot of money, you got to cut that shit out. You got to be very frugal. There was a period of time in my life where I was extremely frugal, where I wasn't making a lot of money, where I was sleeping on a mattress on the floor, where I was living in a little tiny, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom place, 1 bedroom place at one point, right, where I was not going out to eat. I was eating ramen noodles, right, all this stuff. I was being extremely frugal so that I could save up money. So number one thing that you have to do is you got to cut expenses, you got to save money as much as possible, because that utility value of that money is so important to you at this stage when you don't have a lot of it, right? The more you have, the less the utility value, right? The harder it is for you to actually try to invest that money to be able to make a profit on it, because you got to make enough for it to be worth it. But when you only have a little, then the little more that you can grow it, the better that is. It has a much greater effect overall. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so let's talk about, let's say you're going to invest in real estate. Okay, so first of all, we talked about cutting the expenses. So you have more of it. The more that you have, the better. Now, if you're going to invest in real estate at that point, you're going to have to figure out, you're going to have to find, you're going to spend more of your time. Money and time are very interrelated. If you have a lot, if you have little money, okay, then hopefully you have a lot of time. And so you're going to spend time. Okay, if you have a lot of money, right, you're probably short on time. In fact, if you have money, you want to spend money to save time, to buy time. So early on in your career, early on in your life, when you're not doing as financially well, what you want to do is you want to invest time, okay? And you want to trade time for money, because you need money. Okay, later on, right, when you've got the money, when you've got the assets, because that's what can grow, right? That money compounds, right? If you make investments, when you've got that and you've got a lot of money, now you want to buy back the time, right? So I spend a lot of money buying back time. Okay, I'm just working with hire a personal stylist, because I'm not going to go out and shop myself to the store and try to pick out clothes. Or I need a new wardrobe, because it makes a whole lot more sense for me to pay an expert to help me do that, get that stuff done for me, so that I don't have to waste my time spending tens or hundreds of hours doing this stuff, right? So just to make that clear. So when you don't have a lot of money, you're investing time. Now, so you're starting out with real estate or business. Let's take real estate. Okay, for real estate, how you invest, how are you going to invest time? What it means is that you're going to have to look for better deals. So you're going to hit the pavement, you're going to be calling up, you're going to be going door to door, you're going to be getting the MLS listings, you're going to be looking for the deals, making a lot of lowball offers, because the better the deal that you can make, the better off you are, right? Whereas let's say that, let's just give you a concrete example here. Let's say you're going to buy a house, okay, and it was $100,000 it was going to be in your investment property, okay? And maybe you don't have a huge amount of money, so maybe you can do like a first-time home buyers thing and maybe put like 5% down, or I think they might have 2 or 3% down, or maybe you're going to put 10% down on an investment property and carry a second mortgage on it, or carry property insurance because you can't afford to put 20% down. If you are low on money, okay, in that tight financial situation, you don't have a lot of it. You do have to save some of it, obviously, right? But if you're low, then you're going to spend more time looking for the deal where you can buy that $100,000 house for 90 or 85,000 or 80. And those deals are out there, or you can make those deals with lowball offers, and it may take you a long time to do that and a lot of legwork and effort, but it'll be worth it, because if you're making $25,000 a year, let's say that, and you make one real estate deal where you're buying a property for, let's say $10,000 under market. Let's be realistic here, which you totally could do, right? You've made 10 grand just by making that deal. There's already profit baked in. You make money in real estate when you buy, not when you sell. Okay, this is one critical thing. So you're doing an investment, but you're already making that. So you're trading the time for that. Now, we could contrast this. If you were someone who was making a lot of money, making that $200,000 a year, I wouldn't be so damn picky, okay? I wouldn't spend like months trying to find a deal that's $10,000 less, right? To save $10,000. I would just get the deal, get the investment done, because you don't need to make that extra 10 grand. You see what I'm saying? You'd rather have the time. You'd rather be taking the money. You've got more money coming in. You need to invest that money. So you'd rather have the time and be paying a little bit more for the investment. So the investment maybe doesn't perform as well, but you're utilizing your time better, so you can make more money, right? You see what I'm saying? That's the critical difference there. Now, we could take that exact same thing and we can apply this to business, right? Same thing here, right? If you've got $1 million in the bank and you want to start a business, don't just start a free blog and don't just spend a whole bunch of time pouring into business and do everything yourself. Hire a team, right? Get some startup, get some funding, hire people from the beginning, invest in that, buy a building, right? Or space, or, equipment, all this stuff, right? But most people don't have that, right? Most people are starting out. So if you're a beginner, if you're starting out, you don't have a lot of money, you're going to have to invest a lot of time in your business, right? When I started Simple Programmer, I invested a shit ton of time. I still invest a shit ton of time, okay? But I invested all of my time. I didn't have a team. I didn't have a video editor. I didn't have people helping me with my blog and all that stuff. We've got maybe like 8, 9 people that work at Simple Programmer now, not all full time, but there's a big team behind me now that I'm paying them. I'm shelling out a lot of money, right? Maybe Simple Programmer comes in and makes, $35,000 a month revenue, and most of that is going out the door. I am giving that out. I'm not keeping all that money, right? I'm paying it because I want to pay for that time. So, but when you're starting out, what does that mean? Okay, I'll give you some advice here. It means that you're going to start out by spending a lot of time. So just like I did, you write your blog post. You do everything yourself. You spend a lot of time building up that business, building up an audience. What can you do for free to start a business? Now, my business is different than perhaps your business. Maybe you're selling a product. Maybe you're going to create software as a service. Whatever you're going to do, you just have to do a large amount of legwork. You're going to have to go and hit the pavement and spend a lot of time, because you don't have a lot of money. So you can't do paid advertising, right? But you can go door to door and knock on doors, or you can call people up, or you can go to forums and free places, and you can put out articles, and you can write, and you can do podcast interviews or create a podcast, right? For some ideas here, I've got 2 resources for you. One of them is my free blogging course on how to create a blog to boost your career. And that is, if you're starting a business, I think creating a blog and building an audience, that's the way that I suggest it. But that will give you some ideas there. The other one I'm going to give you is how to market yourself as a software developer, which, surprise, it's not just about marketing yourself as a software developer. It's about free marketing, right? How do you market yourself, your business, whatever you're marketing, for free? When I say free, I mean that you spend your time, you do the legwork to do that. So So if you're starting out, if you're that kind of person and you don't have a lot of money and you want to start a business, you're going to have to, that's how you do it, is you put in a lot of effort. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It was Simple Programmer, like I said, I was writing blog posts several times a week for 3-4 years before I was even making $100 a month. I remember when I made $1,000 a month on Simple Programmer, and I was like, holy crap, this is almost a mortgage payment. This is insane from a blog, right? And now it's grown to something much larger, and I have to pay people to do all this work to get everything done. But that's the difference there. So starting out, beginning, it's all legwork. It's all you got to do all that effort, promote it, market it, right? Everything that you can do to save money as much as possible. You don't have to invest a lot of money to start a business. Online businesses, right? Anyone can start a business. You can start a website. You can do it for really cheap. Like I said, I gave you the resource for my blogging course. I gave you the resource for my how to market yourself. There's tons of ideas and stuff in there. I'll eventually do an entrepreneurship course. It's in the works, where I'll show you exactly how to do this and build a business. But that's the basics of it. But here's the thing, again, like I said, I talk about this all the time on this channel, is that principles first, principles matter. And the thing to get from this is not necessarily those specific tactics, although like I said, I give you some resources for the specific tactics. But what's most important to understand is that scale, right? That difference between how do you operate when you don't have a lot of money, right? You spend time, you invest time, because that's what you have. And because your time isn't worth much money, right? If you can only make $10 an hour, you don't want to trade money for time. You don't need more time. You want to trade your time to invest, right? You don't want to go the opposite way. But if you're worth $300 an hour, or $500 an hour, or $1,000 an hour, you don't want to invest time into business. You don't want to invest time into real estate. You want to have someone else do that for you. You want to pay them money. You got plenty of money. Use your time where people will pay you for your hourly rate. Does that make sense? I hope that does, and I hope that clears things up. That's why the strategy has to be different. That's why some of these guys, the financial self-help type of gurus, while they give great advice, it just doesn't apply to, they're not giving the advice tailored to where you are. And so that's why I'm trying to give you this higher level principle, so you understand that where you are financially, where you are is going to determine how you act, and it's going to be very, very different if you're making a little bit of money versus if you're making a lot of money, and it has to change over time. I had a lot of difficulty adapting to this myself as I started to make more money, because I was used to living this super, super frugal life. I still live pretty frugally. I've got a 13-year-old car, whatever. I still live pretty below my means, and I definitely recommend living below your means, but I've had to adapt and say, okay, hey, I can spend some money on this because it will buy me time. All right, so that's really, really critical. All right, if you like this video, if you haven't subscribed already, click that subscribe button below, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.